Hello there, and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter. I love to draw, and there's also a teacher in me. I was a science teacher for 28 years, and I love to encourage and help and perhaps even inspire people to draw and to enjoy drawing, and more importantly, to do it in your own style. So thank you for joining me. What you can see in front of me here is an accordion book, accordion journal that I've made, and I'll link to the video where I show how this is made, as well as the original video I got the methodology from, which was from Witchcraft Do You Do, which is witch, not spooky witch. Okay, Witchcraft Do You Do, and I'll put a link to that below. But in the previous video I actually almost completed this drawing but didn't quite. And unfortunately, I then fell ill. I picked up a stomach bug. I suspect a dodgy takeaway. In the US, you call it takeout. So I had food delivered from a takeaway restaurant. And yeah, I suspect that or something else. So I've not been very well for a couple of days, and a couple of other things have happened that have overwhelmed me totally, as well as work. But determined today, because also, as I film this, it's the 31st of January 2022, and I'm starting a new project, which perhaps I should have kept for the 1st of January. Yeah, thinking ahead isn't always a good skill of mine. But hey ho, I'll carry on and I'll continue. But you can see I've finished the design, and I decided not to carry on with this pattern of triangles, which is the Zentangle pattern Tripoli, and instead I filled it with this pattern on this side. I don't know what it's called, if it's got a name, but it's one that I use fairly often for things, and I quite like the way the white breaks up the background. Now, I'll want to seal this picture because I've used a Uniball Signo glitter pen here for the heart and for this. I actually do need to go around the heart with black pen again because I've gone outside or over the black lines a little bit, but I'll sort that one out. And because I don't want that glitter to rub off, but I've got some spray varnish which should do it. I used it on my drawing board, which is downstairs, the one that I decorated on one side. I actually covered it with drawings, patterns and so on. The other side I painted ready for more patterning, but I haven't got round to it yet. So that's the front cover. So this, just as a recap, is made, each one of these is a pre-made greetings card. You can buy them from craft shops, online, various places. They're relatively inexpensive, or you can cut cards up to suit yourself. Any size will work as long as everyone is the same size. And where the folds are, you stack them up, and then in pairs you find a way of using paper, or I've used fabric here, to actually join the pages together, not just on the fold side but on the back side as well. And that makes a fabric I like, because paper tends to get a lot thinner in use, and I'm always worried that the paper's going to break, because I'm a worrywart like that. So I want to do the next page, and I'm going to do, because every page is going to get things on it, and some of them will just be straight drawings, perhaps others might be a bit different, and this is one that's going to be a bit different. It's a lovely piece of paper here. I'm going to pop that to one side for a moment. And I've got here, it's a 1-inch hole punch. Now I'm lucky, I've got a lot of stuff in my stash from years of dabbling in craft and card making and all kinds of things. But this is one of the ones that I'm glad I have. And what I'm going to do is I'm putting the paper in there. Yep, I've got it up what seems to be upside down, but this is the best way to do it. And I'm going a little less than halfway down the circle, and I'm trying to get this centered more or less in the middle. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not measuring and putting a tick mark in and hoping I line it up. There's actually no marks on this one. I think some of them you can get, they do have like little marks on for quarters and so on, but this will do fine. And I'm just going to punch out a little semicircle, and then you can see I've got, I'll show you against this, I've got a little notch, and that means I can glue down 3 sides, and I've got like a little pocket in there. I'm likely to actually use, I may use foam tape, which would be fun because that will lift this up and give me a bigger pocket, and I can fill that up with things. And this book will end up getting very fat, which is fine. So I've got that. Next job, find a pencil. Got a pencil. Always got a pencil on me. And I've got a ruler because I am definitely never averse to using rulers. Do you know what? If I'd made this a little bigger, I could have actually created a little pocket by scoring along these lines and folding these under. That's still a possibility. Is this something I'd like to do? Potentially it is, actually. Scissors. How to do that? First I'm going, actually I'll score them first. Get my cutting board out, because cutting boards are great things for this. Because I've got that. Now then, I need a scory scribey tool. Something I can just score this with. Do you think I've got one here somewhere? No. Yes, of course I have. I've got my bone folder. So I'm lining these up, and I'm just using my, this is a bone folder, and I'm just pressing down into that gap. I'm going to do the same here, like so, and then on the third side, like so. And then these will fold quite happily in these kinds of directions. These will be pretty, you know, I could have, instead of drawing a pencil line, I could have just used the grid marks on my cutting board. These, for me, are invaluable. It's my best way of cutting a straight line. I can do it with a craft knife and a metal ruler that's got pads underneath it, or a surface underneath it stops it sliding. But generally my skills with scissors are notoriously dreadful. So I'm just going to cut the corners off at the bottom, and I'm going just a little bit above where these, just at the top of where these cross over. And yes, I'm left-handed with scissors. Then I'm going to do the same at the top. Just going to cut some off on either side. Again, starting from just outside. The angle really doesn't matter because nobody's ever going to see those bits. Trust me. There. That can, oh, sorry about that noise. That can go out the way. And now I'll pop the autofocus on, and then you'll see that this will actually form. That's not bad, actually. This one needs a little bit more off because I don't want them to overlap. I really could do with, there you are. See, I've got a gap there. I need something similar on this side because otherwise you get bulk where they fold over. And although I might not have perfect corners at the bottom now, they're good enough for me, given that I am a complete and total klutz with things. You can see, can't you? Klutz. Kept a little bit too much off there. Well, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just round that corner a little bit. Perhaps around, oh, try and round this one a little bit, because they won't go in my corner rounder tools. And then at the top, I will definitely try. I've got that. No, I can't, can I? Will it go in? I don't know. Will it? Seems to be. No, it isn't going far enough in. I don't think so. Oh yes, it is. Something went. Let's try a slightly bigger curve then. That might do it. That's better. Oh, that means I might be able to do those ones at the bottom. Oh. Let's look and see where we're going with that. There we go. Yeah, I should be able to do the ones at the bottom. If I can get them in, they can get rounded. Got it. That's better than me faffing around with scissors and making a pig's ear out of it. And I've got little bits of paper everywhere. That's fine. I can clean them up. There we are. So I've got a nice thing that will form a nice. Let me have a look. That'll form a nice pocket in the middle. The interesting thing is I've got all this space around. Oh, that's going to end up being tangled in some way. I may put some coloured paper or pattern paper underneath though. We'll see. But you can see that this will actually form quite a nice pocket, and these little bits on the side will give a little bit of volume to it as well, which is great. Okay, I'll fold these back out so I can work on this. I still want to put a bit of a border around the edge here, so turn my ruler around the other way so I can use the grid. And very gently I'm using, each one of these little squares is 1/2 centimetre, which is, I think it's about or a little bit more than 1/4 inch. I've got a ruler here that's in inches, but being a Brit, I'm more comfortable measuring in centimetres. So let me have a look. So we've got one here, so yeah, it's a little bit less than 1/4 inch. It's more than 1/8 of an inch, but less than 1/4 inch. But that's entirely up to you what you do with these. Oh, I've put my ruler to one side and my pencil. I want to do something at the top here, because I want to make sure that I get a border underneath my thumb hole. I may do something around the thumb hole, which would be interesting. So I'll put some lines in, as if I can do the mark that distance that way, that distance that way. I know I could eyeball it in true Zentangle fashion, but I'm not a true Zentangle tangler, am I? Really? I do tend to push boundaries just a little bit. Actually, I may come back in with that. That's better. So it touches that. There we go, got it. Job's good. Job's a good one. I don't know where I picked that up from, but I quite like the saying because the job is a good one. It's a good enough one. It's a good one. It'll do. There we go. Alright, so I've got this now, so I can actually start drawing on here, and I'm going to use a Uni-Emot today. They are pigment-based ink that actually dries waterproof, which surprised me. And I can use markers with them. This is not paper I want to use water-based medium on. It is marker paper. It's the Ohuhu marker paper. It's very sturdy, which makes it perfect for doing things like pockets and so on, because they will stand up to use, because I do hope that this will stand up to a fair amount of use, and a resource for me to use. So, as usual, I have very little idea of what I'm going to do, because it's fun just to see what happens. So I think I'm going to start with, on this one, I'm going to do some foliage that is going to be inspired by the arts and crafts movement, I suppose. And I'm going to have Some lovely leaves like this, perhaps. Now this is a bit like Tangle Pattern Poke Root, I suppose, except there's no pokey, rooty bit, if you know what I mean. Very simple shapes, which actually suits me today. I've got quite a lot to do today. There's this week's colouring template for Facebook group of people who like my colouring books. I feel really awkward saying fans. And though it hasn't got the year on it, it's got a very starry, sparkly. Do you know what? I'm going to have that going up into that section, and perhaps I won't actually do a separate section around there. Perhaps I'll just use this. To just draw these in. I've got gaps between these on this side, so it's quite natural for me to want to put something like some berries in. And I'm not doing poke root or whatever, I'm just going to put little stems on them like this. Because that will work for me today. And here I'm going to have a little cluster of them, and perhaps stem there. And perhaps this one has a little stem that goes behind it there. Again, I can perhaps put a little cluster of these berries in here to go to the top of my section. Doing a very good job of drawing today. In fairness, it is early. I woke early and I thought, right, or rather I woke at my usual time, but instead of taking ages to come around, I'd get up and do some stuff, including this, because I did want to do a year's end video. I'm not going to do a review of the year because, oh God, how many videos have I done this year? Posts on social media and goodness knows what. I think it would be a very long video, but it's just something nice and soothing for me and hopefully for you, and something that you can perhaps have a go at. Be interesting to know how many of you are giving a go at making an accordion book like this, because that'll give me a guide as to whether it's something you'd like to see in the future from me, or different kinds of things like this. I just think it's going to be a nice thing to do going forward. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do Fragments of the Imagination Challenge this year on 7F5R challenge group on Facebook, because of my work commitments and the fact I've been ill and I've got so much to do to catch up on. You know, creating videos and so on does take quite a lot out of my day when I've got lots, I've got other things to do. But we'll see. So there we are. So we've got some berries and some leaves. Do you know, I just like that just as it is, but we can't leave it just like that, can we? And I thought what I'd do is I'm going to take some little curved stems like this, and I'm going to put something, I guess you could say it's kind of like a little acorn on there. Then I'm going to take another one that seems to come from the same kind of place, as if there's a branch that is splitting somewhere below. Here I've made a really awkward connection between the top of one and the other. These curve out and in here, and I've just realised I've lost my screen. I'm still on camera just. Okay, I've forgotten how to do these things. Being out of action for so long with the damaged muscles and so on means that my daily routines, I suppose, have been... Well, that's a way to make that look a little less awkward, isn't it? I'm going to pop one in that side as if it's behind the other, because perhaps that leaf is just going backwards. I'm just bashing myself on my camera here. And I'm going to add, perhaps, and two alone look awkward, don't they? But perhaps I can start to add another one in. From here. Actually, that'll work quite nicely, I think. Well, that one, the shape at the bottom is short and it almost mirrors the top. It looks like a weird sort of like meringue. You know, the meringues that are peaked like this and are swirled and so on, and you can put them together and fill them with cream and other goodies. It looks like one of those. Yeah, I know. But it'll end up being another one of these. And I quite like that. That looks quite nice. I think so. Not drawn acorns like this before. So it's a novelty value to me. Part of me is desperate to put little lines in here. And I may do that, but I think I'll wait until after I've added colour, to be honest, because I think that'll be the best option for me, as far as that's concerned. Okay. And I think it'd be quite nice if I put some flowers in as well. So let's have a look at perhaps putting a couple of flowers in. And I think I'm going to make use of this same kind of shape for the base of the flowers. I'm going to curve it upwards like that. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but it doesn't need to be. And then I'm going to add some petals in, like so. And I think I might just pop some in between, like this. I will put a couple of lines in there. I actually quite like that. It's a bit lopsided, but I can live with lopsided flowers. I really can live with lopsided flowers. I can live with all kinds of things when it comes to this. It's all nature based, which means that whatever you do, it's fine really, because nature is perfectly imperfect. It's one of my favourite phrases, I love it. Because we are all perfectly imperfect. We all have our quirks, our differences. We experience the world in a different way. And our inner world is very different as well from one another. And I think that is absolutely fascinating. In lots of ways, some of which have surprised me recently, but that's a story for another time maybe. So, ooh, that's an unusual shape. I quite like it though. Don't know how it ended up so different. Now with this one, I'm going to spill out of my egg shear, and I'm actually quite all right with that. And it touches one of the acorns. I had hoped to keep them separate, but I think I drew this shape so big there was no chance of me doing that. As soon as I put these in, so I've just heard some birds outside and the sky is beginning to lighten. You know, it's 8:10 and it's still dark out, but solstice has come and gone and life is basically not too bad. Okay, so perhaps I want something from up here. I've got this area here and this area down here. Down here, the most obvious thing to do will be to add perhaps a couple of leaves. And yet it'll go behind that particular flower. And I will add a berry in here because I can, for no other reason, because I can. And it just keeps that pattern going. And then up the side here, I'm so tempted just to more or less leave it. Or I could put something in there. No, that doesn't feel right. I do want to put something here, but I'm not quite sure what. It's going to be awkward. I could have. Perhaps I could. Have just a couple of leaves growing down here. Let's see how this works out. This is something that is always interesting about working with pen directly rather than a sketch to begin with, because you never quite know what is going to happen. And I certainly don't know what's going to happen because I have no plan. And I quite enjoy that challenge of just going with my instincts, of going with what I think might work, how to make something work. Okay, we're going to have a leaf going down behind this one, so it's going to be imagining I'm drawing behind. And then coming back up here. That kind of works, and I've overspilled my region, my area there just a little bit. It's okay, it'll disappear when I add colour, because I am going to add colour to this. And then perhaps we can have another one here. These pens certainly give me a different feeling to my drawing and how I draw. I don't feel as competent with them today as I would do, say, with the Unipins or Copics. But it's fine. It's an odd shaped leaf, but it works. And then I think I'm going to have to carry some leaves on this way, aren't I? Which is fine, because we can do that for sure. And just get a nice little leaf going in there. Add a seed there, or a berry there. Add another one here just to fill that in less awkwardly. Perhaps add a couple here. And then I have got spaces here, but I'm quite happy with those spaces, I think. I think I'm fairly happy with that composition. You can tell I'm putting pens away. So what I'm going to do momentarily is I'm going to go and hunt out some marker pens, the colours I'd like to use, and I'll be back. Okie dokes, here are the colours I've selected. For the leaves, I've got, these are Ohuhu markers, they're the bullet tipped ones, my brush tipped ones are downstairs. And I've got porcelain blue, which is G177, and green grey, which is GG010, and a green grey, because there are many of them. So I think they'll work nicely for the leaves. For the flowers, I've gone with two yellows, primary yellow and a deep yellow, which you'll see. And for the acorns, I'm going to use one of these colours, but I'm also going to use a salmon, an orangey colour, and this one is mid-orange, which I think will work well. And then for the berries, I've chosen to use this colour, which is jacaranda, with a paler colour, which is it's called light peach. Now, purple is not peach to me, but we'll see how it goes. Now, I am not going to colour everything in on camera. I'm going to start so you get an idea of what's going to happen, and then in my own time, I'll add colours in other ways. So I'm going to start with one of the leaves, and why not start with the very first leaf I did? And I'm going to use this grey-green to begin with. And I tend to always saturate the area I'm going to add colour to with the lightest colour first. It's my favourite way of doing things, because I find I get a better blend of alcohol markers. Obviously, alcohol markers are what I really, really enjoy working with at the moment. That doesn't mean you have to. It's whatever medium you have or whatever medium you're comfortable with. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting some darker colour towards the end and the tip. This is the porcelain blue, which is kind of a greeny blue, I suppose. It's very strange colours. And then I'm just going to go over the edge of that with this green grey and just allow that to do what it needs to do. And because I've got no green grey in this one, I'm going to use this there, like this. And then what I can also do is you can glaze these. So you can get a darker colour on the top. I'm quite sure about this. It's hard to know if I've made the right choice until these colours have dried, to be honest with you. But we'll see. I'll do another one very quickly. So update on my mussels. They're getting better. They're not wonderful, but I'm able to work for a lot longer and do things. The chair that supported me is now causing me some discomfort, which shows that I'm on the mend, I suppose, but it's more discomfort with my digestive system, muscles there. The whatever bug I managed to pick up, whatever made me, ill a couple of days ago, it's not nice. Stomach cramps, or the cramps in the muscles around my digestive system, they were awful. And I've never experienced so much pain, and now I've got muscles that are really strained and stressed there. Tell you what, I've been in the wars lately. Everything, I say everything, not everything, but it's been a tough time in many ways here, but we'll be fine. I will. And with the stems, once they've dried, I'm going to go back over with this just to add some darker colour in, just to give some variation there. And I'll do just one more so we can see what they're like. Worst comes to the worst, I can always glaze over the top with a green, taking these as sort of like the light and dark shades where light and shadow are. And I may do that, I may use a yellowish green. So don't be surprised if when I show you the finished version of this, you see something that's quite different. And I also need to choose a colour for the background of this panel. But can you see this is going to be quite a big long-term project? I think it's going to be fun for me. It's going to force me to do smaller drawings on a regular basis. Simpler drawings, perhaps. Is this simpler? No, probably. When you think about it, I've used leaves, flowers, acorns, and berries, which are just basically circles. So I'm guessing that it is a bit of a simpler thing. When you've got a smaller space, there's not so much variation you can put into it, not unless you draw really, really tiny. And as you can see today, tiny drawing is not my thing. It's quite big today. There we are. So I'm going to leave these for a moment. Shall I just go back and add some there? And perhaps I will use the grey-green just to help to blend these darker areas out a little bit. So I'll pop those to one side. Oh, I will use this green for the stems on these acorns, the leaves as well, so we can see them. What I'm thinking for the background colour is quite a neutral colour, like a warm brown, a grey brown, or a a soft, very pale yellowy brown perhaps. But at the moment I'm not really sure. So my aim here is to just get a little bit of this done so you can see what's going on. Now, the other thing is that if I want to add more details to this, I can do that after I've coloured it in, and I can either use black pen or I could use coloured fine liners or gel pens of all kinds. So let me just do the stems for these as well. Like so. Okay, so we've got some structure going on here. Now part of me thinks I ought to be filling in the bottom bit of this with the green, as if it's that greeny cup that petals come out of. But part of me thinks I don't need to go realistic, so I'm going to go with some yellow. So let's do the flowers first. So this is my palest yellow, believe it or not. They always dry lighter than you think they're going to. Oops, that's gone behind my... Oh, so I'm going to have to crawl under my desk afterwards to recover the cap for that marker. Should be fine. I can do that. Going back and just using the paler one just to help to blend that out a bit. If I want more of a highlight, I'll use a white gel pen. I did pick out a colourless blender, which is always an option. So do that, and I can also do that on these here, because it bleaches out the ink just a little, so it will give a subtle change here, I think. Maybe I won't even notice it. Okay, so I'm going to use the lightest colour, yellow. I could have picked out a lighter yellow actually, but I think this will be nice. I think the colours of the acorns and the flowers are going to overlap just a little. The other thing that I've got here is I've got so many works in progress downstairs, and I really do need to move things back upstairs for me, because my front room has got rather cluttered with arty stuff, which is fine, but it's kind of a bit much still at the moment. So, and as I'm able to work at my desk mostly, I think it'd be sensible to bring things back where they belong. I think I'm going to use some salmon at the base of these petals just to give that slightly darker region, which I think would be useful, just to give that extra little bit of shadowing here. Just going over the edge with that darker yellow, and then I'll go back with the now capless yellow here. But with this one, I'm not going to take it right up to the tip. I'm going to flick this up so I get an uneven edge, but not right to the top of the petal, to leave some lighter shade there. And again, if I can find that colourless marker. Oop, that's not colourless. Oops, I just put some grey on there. Idiot. It'll be fine. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting a fair amount of this on. And again, just flicking it down just to help to fade it out. That green hopefully will, as it dries, will fade. So that's how I'm going to do my flowers. In fact, I may just put a little bit of this salmony colour around the edge on one side of this, just to deepen that shadow just that little bit more. Pull that out that way, and then use this one just to drag that way. That'll work quite nicely, and then I've got my colourless marker which I can use here. That's working fine and well. I think so. Okay, so that's one flower done. My guide for what I want to do next. Next thing, I do actually want to do the this, and I'm going to use the darkest yellow for the top bit. Perhaps it's best if I just put all the lids to one side. I'll use some of the salmon there, and I'm going to use the salmon here. So I'm getting a slightly darker area here. And then I've got this one, which is the, wrong side. This is a mid-orange here, which I'm going to put on this side. And I'm going to use the salmon just to blend that out a little bit. And same way, I'll go back and I'll just do it's a bit of that yellow, but I think I might use the lighter yellow just to help blend it. So we've got that. I'm going to put the lighter yellow on that section. That's salmon, it's fine, it'll be fine, like that. And then I'm going to use the darkest. Yeah, that's the mid-orange. It doesn't look that dark now. Here, like so. And I'll give everything a chance to just settle here. Perhaps. And see what happens, because they will. So this is the salmon. And that, I'm just using that to help me get a slightly darker area there. And I'm leaving just a little bit there of lightness for that one. Not so sure about these, to be honest. I think they may need some yellow. So let's have a look. They are a bit on the orange side, so I'm going to use the darker yellow to glaze this section and perhaps this section as well. Just to bring that golden tone into it. And where I've got that highlight, I'll go back with that light yellow, but I'm also going to use my colourless marker there. And here as well, just to put that highlight in. You can see how it's bleaching. This has become a tough one because I thought I'd pick the right colours, but I haven't. Okay, so what remains for me to do here is, before that dries out, so let's have a look at these berries. So I've got this peachy colour, so try the other end, Angela. I've got this peachy colour here, so I'm going to fill all of this except a highlight. I'm going to leave a highlight on these ones because I want shiny, shiny berries. And then I'm going to add the darker colour around. There's quite a big difference actually between these two, but they should blend fairly well. If they don't, they don't, and you know, it is what it is. Actually, they're doing really well because the lighter one is bleaching the darker, which is fab. So let's do another one. So even though my highlight there has got smaller, I'm happy for that to happen. But I want to start bigger because I know when I start adding the darker colour, I'll need that space to do that. As you can see, I've lost that this lighter colour there on the edge. This gives me that opportunity to just do that. Oops. There we go. Fiddling around, just checking I'm on camera. I've got light peach here. So again, I'm just going to fill this around. I do prefer to do these one at a time, and I prefer to blend the ink while it's still wet because I feel I get a better result that way. You can do it when they're dry, but they tend not to blend quite so easily. You can layer them. That's my experience. Other people may tell you differently, and that's fine because we all have a different relationship with our tools and the way we use them. And that's fine. That's what makes art so unique. There's a lot of debate in the art community at the moment about AI art, the pros, cons, dodgy bits of it, and will artists have a job afterwards? I actually like to think we will, because although it may be useful in some areas, it's, you know, what you get from me, I hope, is what intrigues and fascinates me as a person, you know, visually, artistically, and so on. And my own way of drawing things, which is why I encourage each of you to use what I do as a basis, but learn and try things for yourself and allow your hands to create things the way that your hands want to create them. Your muscles won't work the same as mine. Perception of shapes and relationships from one to another won't work the same. You know, if mine work at all, that is. Because I'm well aware I have, you know, not the best at various things. You can see I'm really enjoying doing these berries, and I really do think that all of this is just going to work nicely together. So I hope that I've given you some kind of an idea here for Do you know what? These colours look absolutely spiffing together. I am so chuffed. You know, the tops look lovely together, don't they? So chuffed with them. Trying to get a pretty picture for you for the camera video. But I really am, you know, sort of like the tops look lovely. I did use my swatches to choose the colours, but sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, what you put on paper isn't quite the same. I like this, but I know I need a colour in the background. But before I add that, I want to colour all of these in. And I do feel I need to add some details to various parts. The acorn actually isn't looking too bad now. To my eyes here, what I see and what you see on screen are two different things. Mind you, that might be to do with the brightness of my screen. I'm not entirely sure whether I've got my screen or my computer on night mode still. Oh, yeah, don't ask. Is best. And that one that looks like a sort of like two meringues sandwiched together is going to be an interesting one. But I do like the colours, combination of colours. It very much reminds me of Arts and Crafts or Art Nouveau. It's those softer colours that still have some saturation to them. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a go at this one. I do hope you have a go at either getting yourself a little sketchbook. You can get ones that are A5 in size, or creating your own notebook like I did, and joining in with this and creating this resource, this repository of patterns and ideas, because even though I haven't done a single pattern here, I've got some motifs, I've got some ideas that I can use. Leaves I've done before, but these are new acorns to me. This is a new kind of flower to me. And so it's something a little bit different. And yeah, the acorns have got leaves coming out the top of them. Well, yeah, they're going to. So until I see you again, which will be once the calendars have been changed over, 2023. Can you believe it? Another year has gone by. Look after yourselves, take care, and find time to be creative. Until then, bye for now. Bye. Foil.